So my first bread was a round of Irish soda bread. And I made it for all of the same reasons that the Irish made it. I was broke. I didn't have any yeast. The cupboards were empty. And my loved ones were hungry. And being a man, being the man of the house, I needed to feed and provide for my family. These are a lot of the same reasons that the Irish wrote poetry. Yeast and yeats are right next to each other in the encyclopedia. So as a writer, I felt especially connected to this first attempt at bread making. It was a modest proposal, pun intended, a simple leavening combination of bicarbonate and vinegar acid, but it was yummy. Right? It was dense, it had all kinds of spices and herbs in it. My wife loved it. And I was instantly not satisfied. There are a number of reasons. One, I knew I could do better. According to my wife, I am infuriatingly good at everything I try, which is not true, but she hates me for it anyway. Two, it's not enough for me to just put food on our table. We were not at the very bottom rung of Maslow's hierarchy, but we were just that high above. So what pleasures we took from life, they had to be free. And this left us with poetry, with music, with friends, and cooking. So whatever I made in my kitchen, it couldn't just be good. Right? It had to make up for not going to the movies or purchasing cute little handbags or going out to eat dinner with our friends. It had to be great. 3, not using yeast seemed like cheating. I was involved in the home brewing industry a while back, and somehow I felt like fungus was really the way to go. So I brought yeast. I made whole wheat bread, I made rolls, I made hamburger buns, I made pizza dough. We ate pizza on homemade crust. Put tomato sauce all over it, then mozzarella, and let it rise, pepperoni. It was so good, right? Perfect, wonderful. And I knew that I couldn't continue to be satisfied. I was buying it from a store. It had like 60 cents to every loaf. What I needed was wild yeast. So I started a starter. It's pretty easy. People who thought that the sun revolved around the earth did it. Right? People who burned witches at the stake did it. People who vote Republican do it. Right? You put water and flour in a bowl, and then you add some more water and some more flour every day until it gets foamy, and then goes flat, and then gets foamy again. The first time that it gets all bubbly, that's all the bad bacteria going nuts and then dying. And then after they die, they leave an acidic environment that is perfect for yeast to grow in. This whole process takes about 10 days. And you put it in the fridge when you're done, and then you add a little bit of sugar and a little bit of salt or a little bit of flour every week, and that keeps the process going. All you have to do is let it be. And those little buggers, they just start breeding like crazy, making copies and carbon dioxide. And suddenly you have yeast gone wild in your fridge. Right? Because bakers have their own weird, lascivious, double entendre-filled language. They say things like, proofing my sponge, and feeding my starter, and punching it down, and kneading the dough, euphemisms for foreplay, or for things that should be done alone and in private. Would you excuse me, please? I need to go proof my sponge. Sorry. I'll come back later. See, making bread is one of those places where the science of food meets the artistry that is in all of us. It's kind of like building a chair. When you make a good, solid chair, it is a thing of beauty all on its own. Right? Its functionality alone speaks volumes to our sense of aesthetics. But as an artist, you combine functionality and style into a brand new thing. It's not painting. It's not sculpture. It's not poetry. Right? It's harvesting fungi from the air. From the air. And I don't know if I can emphasize this enough, right? But these are living things. And you are caring for them, you're feeding them, you're guiding and crafting ground wheat and hungry little critters into damn good bread. It's functional. It's sustenance. It's beautiful to look at, to smell, to taste. It's building a damn chair out of gluten and sugar and salt. And it's sexy. Right? My wife would see me in the kitchen, making food, working the dough with my hands, dusting the pans with cornmeal, feeding her little bits of sourdough drenched in butter, kissing the taste of salt and oil from her lips. And suddenly, we're remembering other things in our life that make it worth living, that fill up the time, that don't cost a dime. And all that replicating in the bowl just starts spilling out. And afterwards, you're a man. Right? You've harvested and shaped the raw ingredients of air and water and flour into food. If there were an apocalypse, you would survive. You have skills. You can make bread and build chairs, right? You feel useful in a way that honestly poetry doesn't make you feel useful. I love writing, but it doesn't have that same tangible, crust on it that baking does. There's no rich sourdough flavor. There's no melted butter in your mouth. There's just words in your mouth. And sometimes they are bitter, and they are sweet, and even buttery. But they are not filling. In fact, they often just make you hungrier. Like when you talk about baking for 5 minutes. And you don't bring any samples. So I brought some samples. They're in the back over there. There's a bread. It's all mangled on one of those dishes. It's good. What I brought you today is a potato bread. It's my favorite kind of bread to make. Right? The dough is silky in your hands. It uses more sugar and milk than other breads do. There's a half a potato in every loaf. I'm surprised that this potato bread is not what people mean when they talk about Irish bread. Right? You take the cheapest, you take the most readily available common things, and you make an empty cupboard and a hungry family into full bellies and a smiling family. Thank you.